Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports right here at Real Auto Ranch. Today we have our Real First Impressions video edition on this 2013 Lexus LS460 All-Wheel Drive. Now you might think, well, I saw the LS460 before, and you did in a pre-production version, but this is the bona fide production version. We have more information for you, and the all-wheel drive is a little different than the rear-wheel drive we tested earlier. So let's take a closer look. All right, so from the front, I think the thing about the Lexus LS460 that hasn't changed from the pre-production to the production model is that you still have this signature, well now it's a signature spindle grille or an hourglass figure. You're seeing this on all of the Lexus models, especially as they redesign them. We saw this on the new IS2 this year. So this is going to be your largest front end because it's your largest car, and you've got your stately badge here. This isn't a hybrid, so it's just the normal chrome badge without the blue outlines. You've got the running lights here, which truly are running lights. They're on all the time. Now you can set some of those things, but they're lovely because it's this nice piped LED light here, so it gives a nice bright white appearance and really gives this car some personality and aggression that the LS may not have had in previous generations without it. You've also got LED turn signals that are very bright. You can see them easily, and the directional or adaptive headlights. When you turn the wheel, the lights follow you, so the right light will follow you when you go around right corners, and the left light will follow you left when you go around to the left. Lovely features. Now this all-wheel drive is missing a feature that our LS460 rear-wheel drive pre-production had, which is there's nothing down here with the radar. There's no adaptive cruise on this model, and at $82,000, a little bit more actually, as tested, well, we missed that because we like that feature, but you are gaining the all-wheel drive system with the torsion differential in here. So from the front, lovely additions to the sculpting, LED and inspired fog lights here. Nice design, and I think it presents better than past generations, and it'll present well into the future and really look crisp even 10 years from now. Okay, so from the side, the thing I like to point out about the LS460 is, again, how square this car is in comparison to a lot of vehicles like the XJL that would seem to compete with it, or even maybe the BMW 7 Series. This car has a very thick appearance. It's kind of a slab side design, but what's nice about it is you see this belt line. It's got a strong horizontal line here that goes all the way from the curve of the back fender here all the way through into the front lights. You also notice here that the way that everything integrates, you've got this kind of yin and yang thing going on with the tail lights in this back fender integration into the bumper. Very well designed, lots of attention to detail, and right here, which you can't really see, but I'll point out, are these strips on the rear tail lights. These are wind diffusion. That's how they help keep the air moving around the car the way the engineers want, so it's more stable and it drives better for you, the consumer. Now you also have the lovely 18-inch wheels here on this all-wheel drive, and they are in that kind of gunmetal finish, and I think it just sets off the car because we do have the metallic pearlescent white, the chrome, it all works in well. You've got the nice chrome accents around it. You see this all on the luxury cars, whether you're looking at a Kia Cadenza or all the way up here to the top of the line flagship LS460 from Lexus. So lots of features that you would expect, the turn signals in the mirror, and indeed when you lock the car, they will fold in, and I can even reach in the window here and try to fold them in if it was on, because it's an auto when you lock it, and it's a power if you're pulling into a tight garage and you need to fold them in. You can tell it to do it by a switch as opposed to the auto. Great features, great lines, but it is a big looking car, even though really honestly it's about 16 2/3, 16 and a half feet total length, because it's not the long wheelbase edition. All right, so from the back you see this strong belt line curve come around into the trunk lid. You get a nice design off the roof line here, off the rear pillar, and you see what I think is really a nice integration of that spindle design coming into the curves in the back here. It's really nice, and these LED and lights here in the back are really lovely as well because they light up in these lines because they're kind of a pipe design. So you're going to notice that at night, and it really changes the look from the previous generation LS460 where these were more solid bulb lights back here. Just gives it that little bit more edge, that more style and design that you're paying for. Of course, most cars have this chrome strip right across the trunk lid here. And in this car, you have a nice feature of the automatic trunk open and close. And this is nice so that you can let it open. You're not forcing it up and down, but you can also open it from the key and it'll open for you. Now it won't close for you from the key, so you do have to hit the button and let it close. The one thing I do like about the LS460 is that if you decide to just grab the trunk and throw it down, it doesn't feel like you're breaking that auto closer. So it really is disconnected until you hit the button. Now you also have these rear park assists here, dual exhaust housings, but the thing you'll notice about these, and you can't really see in this view, is that these pipes are not actually connected to anything. The rear exhaust just sits in those openings. And I think that's a little interesting. I would prefer to see a solid designed housing come out of that because it just looks that much more crisp, especially for the price that you're paying for these cars. But all in all, you know that they do that because it is a little easier to produce. But I think it's kind of funny that that bumper housing is really just an ornament. It's not actually attached to the exhaust system the way that some of the cars used to have. All in all, this car is very interesting, but the other detractor from back here is that if you don't have the key in your pocket, say you've left it sitting in the console in your purse or in your wallet or your briefcase, if you come around to the back and try to open it with the button to open the trunk, it won't let you as long as the key is in the car. It's considered a safety feature, but I find it very irritating. And so do your passengers when they're trying to open the trunk. So it's just something you'll have to know about these cars. Let's take a look at the inside. All right, so from the driver's seat, the thing you're going to notice about the LS460 is that it has nice appointments. It's not too shiny and bright. You've got chrome accents on the door handle, but then mostly satin finishes around the inside with just the chrome around the bezel for the start button, the clock, you know, just little nice accents of chrome. But it is going to be tasteful, understated. It's not going to jump out and try to slap you around like a car that's really going for that visual overload, if you will. So these cars are meant to be refined. Now, it has a neat feature in the inside with all this technology. When you put your seatbelt on, notice how my seat moves forward and the wheel comes out to me. That's part of the departure and entry features of this vehicle, along with the 3-button memory seat. Great again if you have 3 family members, or I always say this for the people who wear different shoe heights, especially you ladies, those buttons are helpful. You reserve one for your husband or your other half or whoever else is driving your car, and then you take 2 because it's your car and you're driving it for different heights. It comes in handy even if you're a guy and you're wearing boots, work boots one day or dress shoes and flip-flops the next. Like some of you like to comment on my flip-flops, it does help to have multiple buttons to get you closer and farther away from the steering wheel and the pedals. Now, the other things in here is you have the large screen for the navigation, the split screen, so you can show consumption on one side and your radio and navigation on the other. Lexus has done a great job at making everything reachable, intelligible. My only gripe in here right now, that I want to tell you, is that it does have headlight washers. It took me about 5 minutes to find them because they're actually back here next to your display, your instrument dimming switch. It's right next to it. So God knows how long it would take you to find that unless you had good light and you were actually knowing what symbol to look for. So that's one thing to keep in mind because it's not down here with all the other heated steering wheel, auto high beam headlights, and all the other buttons around the wheel like your entertainment controls, cruise control, and phone controls. All in all, though, very comfortable, lots of adjustment in the seat, bolsters, heated, cooled, and even an auto setting on that heated and cooled seats that let you set it on auto and it'll try to pick the best temperature based on the surroundings. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at what powers this beast under the hood. All right, so under the hood, what you have is, well, a lot of plastic. Lexus does not believe in their customers actually working on their cars or really actually needing to know that there's anything under here. All you need to know as far as they're concerned is it's a V8 and it goes. And so we'll tell you a little bit more detail here, but this is all pretty much, removable panels. And if I were to remove all these, then you would see that there's a 4.6 liter V8 under the hood here. In the all-wheel drive, it's a little bit detuned. It's 360 as opposed to 386 that you find in the rear-wheel drive. It's going to have, of course, because it is all-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive system with the Torsen differential in it. And it's going to go 0 to 60 a little slower than our rear-wheel drive companion we've seen before. The rear-wheel drive will do it in about 5.4 seconds. This will do it in about 6, which is right in line with most of these luxury all-wheel drive sedans of this size. Even the XJL will do it in about 6.1. So not bad. It competes well. The gas mileage is decent with 16 in town, I believe 23 out on the freeway, and 18 combined. So you're not going to really feel it terribly at the pump because this is meant to be a big, comfortable luxury car, and to some degree some of those gas mileage numbers start to mean less to you when you're up in this $82,000 price range. But if you are conscious of that and you want a little bit more economy, they do make the LS600L in the hybrid, and that will have actually the most power of any of these LS sedans. Will go 0 to 60 the fastest, and will even save you a mile per gallon or two around town and at the pump. So if that's something that's interesting to you. But remember, that car is going to sticker starting pretty much at $120,000. So I like this car. I think it's got a nice blend of power, crispness in the suspension, and softness of ride for your passengers, but it is not a sports sedan. So this is not a car that you're going to take up into the mountains and try to throw through the corners just for the heck of it. It's not that kind of car. This is the kind of car that you ease through downtown to dinner and you cruise out on the open road between, road trips and really enjoy. But it's not a car that you would take to a autocross track day by any stretch of the imagination. But to talk more about that, let's see how it drives out on the road. All right, so driving this car, it's a different experience. Recently we had the Kia Cadenza, we've had the XJL, we've actually had other Lexuses also, like the GSs over the last year. And this car is very much about luxury, comfort, quiet, and not feeling anything. Meaning that you don't want to feel the grooves in the pavement, you don't want to have a sense that there's a bump in the road, and you don't want to experience the things around you, the wind noise or even the engine noise. This car is super quiet inside, and it's meant to be, because it's supposed to be up there with those vehicles like you would expect a Rolls-Royce, where nothing intrudes into the pleasure of you being transported from here to there. So when you drive, if you're driving this car and not riding it, it has good weight in the steering wheel, but you're going to feel very little from the road. It doesn't feel disconnected by any sense, but it's an interesting experience if you're not used to driving one of these. The acceleration actually makes you feel like the car is slow, because it is so quiet and it just moves up to 60 faster than you really can sense that it's happening. And the same thing with slowing down. These cars have gotten a lot better, I think, over the years because the brakes are really good. But when you're driving it, you don't get the sense of speed that you get in other cars because there's really no indicator other than things rushing past you and the speedometer. So it does take a little bit of getting used to while driving the car. Now, people might be saying, why is this a problem? It's not a problem. It's just a difference in what you expect out of the vehicle. If you're looking for luxury, yet still that performance edge, look at the F-Sport version of this. It's going to be a lot more, it's got a different suspension, it's stiffer, it's going to give you more noise factor, but this car is meant to be super quiet, ride super smooth, and it does all of those things while shifting super smooth with the 8-speed transmission really, really well. So that's our first impressions. We'll give you more details in the real video, the real review, and we'll have the wrap-up coming up for you next. All right, so that's the real first impressions video edition on this 2013 Lexus LS460 all-wheel drive. It's about $82,000 as tested, and with the all-wheel drive system, you see a little bit different performance than you do out of the rear-wheel drive version we've seen before. This will do 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds, will have 360 horsepower, and it has that similar 4.6-liter V8 engine. Now, the fuel economy is pretty average in that it'll do about 16 miles per gallon in town and about 18 combined, and you're up in the 20s then out on the freeway. The thing about this vehicle is it's a very different kind of luxury than other vehicles we've looked at, like maybe the Jaguar XJL. It is very refined, very quiet, but it's also understated, and some might say more tasteful than some cars. It blends in while still giving you that little bit of cachet. Now, it's not for everyone because it doesn't have that inspired driving sense. But we'll have more details for you on that in the real video, the real review, coming up right here on Real Auto Reports from Real Auto Ranch. I'm Jonathan McGrew, and we'll see you down the road.